Let's take a look at how an F-22 Raptor shot down a Chinese spy balloon, and how the legacy of a fighter pilot from over 100 years ago was remembered. A Chinese high-altitude spy balloon entered U.S. airspace and gained nationwide attention last week. This balloon journeyed across the Pacific, entering Alaskan airspace on January 28th, passing through Canadian airspace on January 30th, and reaching the continental U.S. on January 31st. As it was being monitored over the U.S., the armed forces decided not to shoot it down due to concerns about falling debris. For several days, the Department of Defense attempted to clarify how a surveillance device belonging to its primary competitor entered and remained in U.S. airspace. Facing growing concerns, the U.S. questioned China about the balloon, leading China to assert ownership, but later claim it as a stray weather balloon. The U.S. then countered that it was actually a surveillance balloon with an onboard instrumentation payload. This led the U.S. military and NASA to investigate wind and debris patterns in order to provide the White House with advice on whether to shoot down the balloon over land or water. The recommendation was to wait until the balloon drifted over the Atlantic, during which time the Air Force used to plan the shoot-down. Of the aircraft in the U.S. inventory, the F-22 Raptor was selected as the shooter since it could fly at extremely high altitudes and speeds. More on that in a moment. Regarding the spy balloon, some speculation suggests that it carried advanced ground-penetrating radar instrumentation. This technology would be more effective compared to satellites, as satellites operate at much higher altitudes and have more atmospheric interference to contend with. This theory makes sense since the balloon was observed flying over Montana, where the U.S. Air Force operates ballistic missile fields in a large portion of that state. These fields are part of the 341st Missile Wing at Malmstrom Air Force Base. This base is one of 3 American facilities responsible for housing strategic nuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles. Defense officials also admitted that the balloon's flight path carried it over a number of sensitive sites. After finally drifting over the Atlantic Ocean, the balloon was shot down on February 4th by an F-22 Raptor. A pair of Raptors from the first fighter wing took off, went into full afterburner, and climbed to an altitude of 50,000 feet. To shoot down the balloon, a missile had to be used. This is because the Raptor is prohibited from employing its 20mm gun at altitudes of 50,000 feet or higher. This restriction stems from the fact that the F-22 must actuate a gun door to allow the gun to fire. Instead, an AIM-9X sidewinder missile was used. At the time of the shootdown, the balloon was at an altitude of between 60 to 65,000 feet. When the lead Raptor took the AIM-9X shot, it was flying at 58,000 feet. The AIM-9X then used its onboard heat-seeking imaging infrared, or IIR, focal plane array seeker to target and track the balloon. The balloon was subsequently destroyed and the wreckage fell into the ocean. Interestingly, the Raptors tasked with the shootdown were given the call signs Frank 01 and Frank 02. These call signs were a tribute to Lieutenant Frank Luke Jr., who was a World War I ace and a Medal of Honor recipient. Over 100 years ago, Frank was given the nickname the Arizona Balloon Buster after he shot down 14 German balloons in just 17 days. Luke Air Force Base in Arizona is also named after him. In the end, the amount of assets to coordinate the shootdown was impressive. According to reports, 4 Navy ships, a Coast Guard C-130, a Navy P-8 Poseidon, an E-3 AWACS, numerous refueling tankers, F-15Cs, and of course, a pair of F-22s were involved. Before and during the shootdown, a significant temporary flight restriction, or TFR, was implemented off the coast of South Carolina. This TFR effectively prohibited all civilian air traffic in a large portion of airspace. The debris and remains of the surveillance balloon are believed to be located in roughly 50 feet of water, and the Navy and Coast Guard are working to retrieve them. Similar balloon activity has been observed over the past few years, however, this balloon stayed over the US for a longer period compared to previous instances. What do you think? Does this incursion signal a rise in tension between the US and China? Should the balloon have been shot down sooner? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, then lock on to that subscribe button and engage. Don't forget to mash that bell so you get notified when the next video is deployed. Thanks to my patrons and channel members who directly support this channel. If you'd like to become a member, I'll leave a link in the description below. The spirit of Frank was in the cockpit of that F-22 on February 4th. Now you know.